planning is concerned, and in terms of budget and the budget policy statement is concerned, Mr. Speaker, it is simply just a document by the National Treasury trying to give us or to envision to National Assembly as to how they would want to manage or how they're going to manage debts in the next, in the coming financial year. And Mr. Speaker, I have taken interest to look at debt management strategy by the National Treasury. And to some extent, Mr. Speaker, I must say, Parliament must be alive to what is happening in this country, and especially on the issue to do with debt. Because largely, our budget is financed by borrowing, so to say, or through debt. And it has perturbed me, Mr. Speaker, looking back 10 years back. It is sad to say that our borrowing has gone up to about 350%, from 2.25 trillion to about 11 trillion to date. That is something that should concern every member of Parliament, because that is our business to oversight National Treasury, because at times they are just borrowing happy. Borrowing happy in the sense that, Mr. Speaker, there are so many loans that have been committed to this country, yet absorption rate is so low. So low to the extent that we are paying commitment fees for loans that have not hit our coffers. We are borrowing, but the money remains in the pockets of the people who lend us money. It is, I've said this in this house, and I'll say it again. It's a perfect example of walking to a commercial bank, borrowing money, but you do not walk away with that money. You spend that money at the behest of the lender, and that becomes a big burden to this country. You can imagine having borrowed money, but the lender dictates as to how that money should be drawn, but you're paying commitment fees and interest and all. Therefore, it becomes a trap. We are ensnared. We are in a deep hole, some kind of abyss that we are trying to look for life just to get out of it. And Mr. Speaker, it has come to a time that Treasury became serious, and as far as matters debt management is concerned. We talk about expenditure here, and when we're talking about expenditure, this house is always full, because people are happy to expend money, but they are not careful to ask, where is this money coming from? I have listened to one of the members contribute here who has ably said that indeed our budget has two columns, and many people would think, but that is not so, because there is revenue, but this revenue, there is that aspect of debt, and which carries quite a chunk of it. This financial year only, we have borrowed close to 1 trillion shillings. You can imagine, the last financial year we passed, or this financial year we passed debt management strategy that envisaged a situation whereby borrowing would be up to a certain extent. But we have surpassed. No report has come to this house. Yes, we resolved that if National Treasury surpasses the amount that was approved by this house, they should come back with a report explaining why. We have not received that as a debt committee, and it should concern us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is the other issue of single treasury account, whereby all the monies collected by the government should be deposited in one account of the government. Because as much as we are saying that our borrowing mix is at 55 to 45 this financial year, we cannot live to this, because at the end of the game, we find that we borrow more than is envisaged in this document. Last financial year, it was 50-50. We have exceeded. It is 63%, 63 to about 37. That is to say, we are not living up to resolutions of this house. Mr. Speaker, I strongly feel that National Assembly should just rise up to the
Honorable Thuku, I've recognized you speaking to yourself. Let me take it that you have concluded your contribution. I'll give you 1 minute to tie well your
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your magnanimity. What I was trying to say is that, Mr. Speaker, as a house, we must live to our calling and to our responsibility. We must oversight national treasury. They should not just be presenting documents to this house. Once we interrogate them and pass resolutions, assume that that is the end of the house. We are just spectators in this game. We are not spectators. We are players. We are part of budget-making process. And the National Treasury must be well advised that any document that they present to this house is for purposes of consumption of this house and oversight. And we are going to keep them on their toes so that then we bring down this story of debt from whatever it is to a figure that is manageable. And finally, Mr. Speaker, on the issue, I can see the clerk is on me. Kindly just be kind with me. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the issue of wanton borrowing must be dealt with once and for all by this house, because only this house can pronounce itself on that matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Chair, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and the Honorable Martin Owino Peters, I will be giving you the chance to contribute after the Honorable Dr. Jackson Kosgei. Honorable Jackson Kosgei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the onset, I wish to support